gonna than it already was. So that's really how I point people in that direction. Now, when it comes to pregnancy and breastfeeding, it's exactly the same. You cannot study a pregnant or breastfeeding person because it's unethical. Okay? We can't study somebody that's going to put their baby potentially at risk because it's unethical. It's the same way we educate. So I used holistic supplements with all my children. All my children were born with midwives. They were all born naturally. And every time what I did is I told my midwife, hey, this is what I'm taking, fully methylated. I'll tell you, Q-Core is one of the best, one of absolute best prenatals you could possibly take, fully methylated. That is crazy because most prenatal vitamins are not. And the number one cause of pregnancy loss has to do with the MTHFR gene mutation. So most women don't even know that. And it wasn't even for me until I've had 2 miscarriages that I found out I carried it. As soon as I switched to methylated vitamins, hello, I have my second son. So I am a huge advocate for empowering people in that space, but a lot of people don't know. And crazy enough, I have a very close friend. She had unfortunately, two stillborns until they tested her. So sometimes we just want to empower people with knowledge. Hey, check this out. Do your own research. Do your own research in this. Sometimes I'll send an article or two and say, this may resonate with you. Let me know if you have any questions. And the article I'll send is like, if you're going through this, check this out on MTHFR, or check this out. This may resonate with you. And then we can engage in conversation and how that could support. But having gut health, brain health, nutrient absorption, reducing inflammation, let's just say that's what we want while we're pregnant, right? The other thing, now this depends on, and I'm going to cover this just because I know the efforts being made for hemp in Australia, and some of you had it, some of you may have not, but the endocannabinoid system actually produces more cannabinoids for our baby when pregnant and breastfeeding than any other time in our life. And the studies, there's a really great website called echoconnection.org. Echoconnection.org houses every single study done on hemp when it was still a class 1 drug. So those are all there. There's way more studies now than there was then, but there's about 3,000 while it was a class 1 drug. And in there, the tons and tons, there's on children, on pregnancy, on breastfeeding, on how our body actually makes cannabinoids in our milk in the same way oxytocin to actually help calm our baby. Our body is going to make it anyway. So our body makes cannabinoids regardless. But what happens is our body becomes depleted if we're not adding it in. Up until 1930, we got cannabinoids from the food our animals ate. So our animals were fed hemp in their feed. So when we ate animals in their tissue, we would get cannabinoids and we would fill in those gaps naturally in our body. In 1930, it became illegal to feed animals hemp anymore. And you can actually look at science and it goes, so I don't know about Australia, but I can tell you in the States, it goes up until 1950 where the TV dinner phase came in, and then health starts to decline again. And then actually gets a little bit better in the 60s, late 60s and 70s. Let's just be real. A lot of people were smoking a lot of things. And then in the 80s, the low fat, high sugar craze and diabetes spikes, and you see health decline massively again. And so a lot of that has to do with starting in the 1930s with not even filling in our endocannabinoid system. Our endocannabinoid system is our biggest neuroreceptor system in our body, and that is going to help all of our organs function as well. So you're not adding marijuana or THC or anything like that into your body. You're actually working with your body's receptors. Now, for some women, topically is better because when you put something topically on your body, it actually spawns your endocannabinoid system to create more cannabinoids. It's just different. When you put it in your body, it actually is filling those receptors versus when you put it on topically, it works a little bit different. So that's an okay way for women to bridge too if they're nervous about that. But those are great options. And so that's why I always say empower yourself. There are 2 products you don't need while you're pregnant, but one you can use to help. I've seen many women. We have somebody on our team right now that tried to get pregnant for 7 years and is now 26 weeks pregnant. That was using help use Women's Vitalized Q-Core with Women's Vitalized to help that process. We see stories of that all the time. But because Vitalize is an adaptogen, when we get pregnant, you don't have to worry that you were taking it before because it's an adaptogen. So when you find out, because most people don't find out till they're 6, sometimes later, weeks pregnant, it's okay. There's not a big deal. You just stop taking it. You don't need it anymore. Your body already knows how to regulate hormones, and adaptogen means it works with your body's natural hormones. So your body wasn't using it anymore. You can be done with that while you're pregnant. You also don't need it while you're breastfeeding. Our body knows what to do. But same thing with trim. You don't need to take trim while you're pregnant. Now, I have seen people that have blood sugar issues that are working with a doctor or a holistic health practitioner utilize it to help with blood sugar regulation because they're very specifically working with a practitioner. But in most cases, you wouldn't take it or wouldn't need it. It's because your body already naturally knows what to do, and you don't need a weight loss supplement while you're pregnant. So I hope that fills in the gaps, but everything else is going to be a great nutritional supplement. You're going to be getting the highest methylated absorbency, which is what we want for both us and the baby. Nutritional deficiency is a real thing. There is actually called postpartum deficiency, and there's a really great study, it's out of Australia, on this. That is what is often connected to many types of postpartum, like baby blues, those type of things. But it has to do with nutrition. And the closer our babies are together, the more depleted we become as humans. You think, what is your body doing to grow a human? Okay. So I think we don't actually give ourselves credit for that. But hormones are what bring us into this world, and hormones are what take us out. And our body has to produce those hormones, and we are humans. So what are you putting in? So many people, when they're in their first trimester, they're so sick or they don't feel well that you're actually not even putting the best nutrition in your body. And that actually depletes you even more as you're growing a human. So we think about that, then we don't sleep. Not sleeping increases stress. All of those things happen, and then you wonder why you have these awful feelings, you're crying all the time, those type of things. Well, we need to repair those things. And so by doing that while you're pregnant, it can really, really help by getting that proper nutrition. So all of those things matter. Mindset matters. Who we're around, what we see, what we take in, all of those things matter. That also contributes to our stress. So if you're watching a lot of news or a lot of TV, maybe turn it off, because that also is going to affect our baby. It affects all the things about, if you're anxious, that affects your blood pressure, it affects everything in your body and affects your child. So we want to keep ourselves as balanced and level as possible, knowing that our body is growing a human. So I think we just kind of forget about that piece, right? Like if we were growing a seed to a tree, you would water that seed, you would care for it, you would fertilize it, you would do all the things, and you would research the best fertilizer, and you would just do it. So sometimes we trust other people to decide what's best for our baby when our gut, and we actually know. And mother's intuition, hands down, I always ask, what's your gut telling you? What is your body saying to you? Because if we listen to our bodies first, we will make choices for our bodies first versus maybe a doctor or somebody outside of us who have seen us for 5 minutes, who does not live in our body, who does not know what we've gone through, who does not feel what we feel. So I always say, what does your body say? What are you feeling? And sometimes people will say, I don't know. And they say, I don't know, because that's uncomfortable for them. And so I'll say, well, take a minute. Let's see what it's feeling. What hurts? What is happening? Is it getting better? Is what you're doing working? How are you feeling about that? You're taking those synthetic pharmacy prescribed vitamins, and you're feeling worse. Maybe you just had a miscarriage. Let's look at other options and see what could be a good fit for you. And I'll provide information and let them make a choice. But you just cannot diagnose, treat, or cure. You cannot just say, this is it, you have to take this. We know you can't do that. So I hope that answers that, Abby.